Protect your car with 3W Liners all-weather floor mats. Made from durable materials like TPE and rubber, our mats are designed to withstand rain, snow, and mud with deep grooves to trap dirt and liquids. For a custom fit and advanced protection, visit 3W Liners. That's the number 3, WLINERS.com today. At Acasis, innovation drives us. Since 2008, we've been creating cutting-edge technology products that make your life easier. With a focus on performance, design, and customer service, we're here to help you work smarter, not harder. Join us on our journey to simplify your world. Visit Acasis.com today. That's ACASIS.com today.
Farmhounds offers natural treats and chews made with quality products that support family farms, regenerative agriculture, and humane farming practices. Give your dog the best with wholesome, organic ingredients that promote health and happiness. Shop now at farmhounds.com. Unlock a world of convenience with Mully Box, your one-stop solution for personalized subscription boxes delivered right to your door. From gourmet snacks to unique finds, each box is tailored to your tastes. Experience the joy of surprises. Subscribe today at mullybox.com. That's MULLYBOX.com. We are Rogue Media Sports.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Cam Show, powered by Rogue Media Sports Network. I'm your host, Cam Stewart. Zach Burke is behind the glass, keeping us on the air 5 days a week, live on YouTube every weekday, high noon Eastern time, and then wherever you get your podcasts as well. We call it your lunchtime alternative to Boston Sports Talk Radio. And today we are talking about the Charlie McAvoy interview. Boy, if you have 16 minutes of your life that you don't want to make the most of, you should go and listen to it. But really, for 30 seconds, he makes one bold claim in there and saying the Bruins have everything it takes to be a playoff team. But how much is he going to need to step up to ensure that that happens? We'll go over that. Plus, we will go over the mystery that is Stephon Diggs with the New England Patriots. Where is he, man? Why is he not a part of this team? Why aren't they targeting him? Why are they targeting him less and less and less? We'll go over that. Plus, a little look at the Red Sox playoff picture. If the season ended today, it would be one hell of a wild card series, and it might be the best case scenario for the Red Sox to get through to the ALCS, which sounds pretty crazy right now, but we'll go over all that and more coming up on this episode of the Cam Show. But we start where we start. You're here because you saw the thumbnail. You want to talk about the Boston Bruins and Charlie McAvoy's bold claim. So let's get into it, shall we? For the first time in 20 years, the Boston Bruins are hitting the reset button. Kind of. The only link to the 2011 Stanley Cup team was washed away with the Brad Marchand trade, obviously. And for the first time in a long time, this team doesn't really have any expectations coming into this year. The injuries, trades, lack of big-time skill or big-time lack of skill, whichever you want to put it. And suddenly they were a team not only picking in the top 10, but finishing level on points with the worst team in the Eastern Conference. Bottom 5 in goals scored, and their starting goalie had the most goals allowed of anyone in the NHL. So why was alternate captain Charlie McAvoy so confident about this team on Elliot Friedman's 32 Thoughts podcast? Because here is what he had to say about the expectations.
It's pretty obvious you guys feel like you have a lot to prove this year. That this is a motivated, annoyed group.
Yeah, you're not wrong. We got everything to prove. I think we've this is the first time in my career that we're going into this year probably not being a playoff team by a lot of people's metrics. We're a playoff team every day of the week, in my mind. I think we have more than enough. We have everything we need on this roster to be that.
Okay. Seems like a bold claim at first. Notice how he kind of pulls up there? We have more than enough. Well, we have everything we need. We don't have more than enough, for sure. That's a guy for the first time in his career that has to watch what he says when he's talking about the expectations of the team. Because it's the first time in his career he can't confidently say that they're a team that can contend for the Stanley Cup, that can win a couple of playoff rounds. Maybe the first time he shouldn't have said that would have been last year. But other than that, his whole career, they've been contenders. They've been a team who could absolutely make a run, and now he's going to watch it. Got to watch it a little bit. And all the answers are like that, by the way. It is not the most entertaining 17 minutes of your life, or 15, 16, whatever it is. But, of course, he puts a pretty bold claim in there. We're a playoff team every day of the week. How about on game days? We have everything we need on this roster. Do we now? Do I think the Bruins got better defensively? Yes. Having Charlie McAvoy and Hampus Lindholm back healthy and hopefully some continued growth from a guy like Mason Lohrei, I think their D-core is better. I do. I also do believe in a bounce-back season for Jeremy Swayman. I might be in the minority here amongst Bruins fans, and I am very much part of the cynical Bruins fans group, but I do believe he's going to bounce back. But this is a team that needs to make a huge leap defensively. Huge leap. Because I talked about their goals for numbers. They were 25th in goals against last year. And both goalies had a sub-900 save percentage. Both of them. You also need to take a leap defensively because that's the only part of the game where you got better this summer. Getting Lindholm and McAvoy back were the only real additions to this team. So you've got to make the most of that. You have to. Because you look offensively, where they were even worse than they were defensively, they didn't add anything. 28th in goals last year, and they added a combined 73 points from 4 players last year in the free agency period. 73 points among 4 guys. They are one David Pastrnak injury away from being the worst offensive team in the league, fellas. They're really close to that. Now, that is a lot to ask of Fabian Lysell. That's a lot to ask of Matt Poitras. That's a lot to ask of Fraser Minton. And even Morgan Geekie. Oh, you bitching about this? They did have another 30-goal scorer last year. Yep, so did the Blackhawks. In fact, their only one was Ryan Donato. Are you looking at them and being like, that's a team that's going to be big time offensively this year? Are you looking at that as a team that's going to score enough goals to get into the playoffs? Probably not. If Charlie McAvoy is so sure, or maybe so unsure of how he kind of modified that answer, but if he is so sure that they're a playoff team, you know who's going to have to be their biggest summer addition? Charlie McAvoy. They're not making a Rasmus Anderson trade. They're not making a Mason McTavish or a Jordan Kyrou trade. Their biggest addition of this offseason is going to need to be Charlie McAvoy for Charlie McAvoy to be right. He needs to not only be back on the ice, but he needs to be back amongst the elite defensemen in this league. The game has looked a lot more difficult for him the last few years, especially offensively, on the rush, on the power play. Because, it's easy to forget now, but before Cale Makar went, complete alien mode a few years ago, the future of the position was Quinn Hughes, Adam Fox, Charlie McAvoy. 3 dynamic, elite, two-way defensemen. McAvoy's just not in that class anymore. He's not the guy who finished top 5 in the Norris Trophy voting 2 years in a row in 2021 and 2022. His age is 23 and 24 season. He's not that guy anymore. That's not to say you can't get back to it, though. And he's fallen out of favor with kind of the rest of the league. The NHL, that preseason poll they do, had him ranked as the 11th best defenseman in the league. And look, that's not bad. It's nothing to sneeze at. But I look at the guys who have leapfrogged him into that top 10 and bumped him out of the top 10. The guys who have leapfrogged him in the last 2 years largely have the same offensive output he was producing, Charlie McAvoy was producing, before 2023. McAvoy had 155 points in a 3-year stretch before last season, before he got hurt. No, I'm excluding last season because he did miss so much time. So before last season, that 3-year stretch. But those numbers, 155 points in 3 years, those numbers were declining each year. It was a problem. In the same time frame, up in Buffalo, Rasmus Dahlin scored 60-plus points in each season on a team that has not made the playoffs in any of those years. Up in Winnipeg, Josh Morrissey's point numbers have declined in those seasons as well, but he was always over 60 points in each of those seasons, a plateau that Charlie McAvoy has not hit yet in his career. And I know it's not all about offense, but for Charlie McAvoy and this team in this context, he needs to be a point producer. He needs to be. In that same 3-year window I was talking about, the 3 years leading into 2024-25, because Charlie missed 32 games that year. In that 3-year window, Rasmus Dahlin scored 73 power play points. Charlie McAvoy scored 53 power play points, a 20-point cavern. And those were on good Bruins teams. One of them was the greatest regular season team of all time. Dahlin's doing it on a team that, let's be honest, is a little bit more free-flowing than the Bruins have been, but also bad. They're also bad. Not one of those teams has been a good hockey team. And obviously not one of them has made the playoffs. I mean, shit, man. Rasmus Anderson, a name we've heard a lot in this offseason, not known as a hugely offensive defenseman, more known for his defensive acumen. Even Rasmus Andersson has only 5 less points than McAvoy at even strength and 5 less points on the power play in those 3 years. So we're talking about a guy in Andersson whom reputationally is not thought of as an offensive defenseman the way that Charlie McAvoy is, and yet they're really in the same tier. They're really right there. And since the start of last season, 23-24, I should say, since the start of the 23-24 season, the Bruins have the 27th ranked power play in the NHL. That's a large sample size when you're looking at 2 full seasons. 27th ranked power play in all of hockey, 18%. The Sharks, the Penguins, the Blackhawks, all better in that span. Interestingly enough, though, when doing the research for this, I noticed this stuck off the page to me, jumped off the page, stuck out to me. There we go. There was one team that was behind them in that stat, power play rankings over the last 2 years, that made the playoffs last year. They're also the same team that was the only one in the bottom 10 for goals allowed, like the Bruins were, that made the playoffs last year. That team was the Montreal Canadiens. They snuck in as the last playoff team. And in 2024, there was a team that scored about the same amount of goals as the Bruins did last year. I think they had one more goal, 223 total goals, and still made the playoffs. And they have the greatest goal scorer of all time, the Washington Capitals. They snuck in 24, and things turned out pretty well for them this past season. The point is, like the kid said in Angels in the Outfield, it can happen. Both these teams I just mentioned overcame flaws in part due to dynamic, puck-moving defensemen like Lane Hudson for Montreal, Jacob Chychrun for Washington. Those were huge, huge reasons why those teams were either able to sneak into the playoffs in the case of Montreal, or were able to build off a playoff season, albeit a pretty pathetic one from the year before, in the case of Jacob Chychrun. So, yeah, look, there's a lot of guys that need to step up for this Bruins team. This is not all on Charlie McAvoy by any stretch. And to go along with that, it's going to take a minute probably. He's coming off a pretty serious injury that didn't happen at the beginning of last year. It happened actually in the back half of last year at the Four Nations. You know, that AC joint, when it gets infected, that can lead right to the heart. That's not a good deal. That's not a good thing that Charlie McAvoy just had to go through. And certainly another shoulder injury isn't the best for a defenseman who's looking to improve his point output, right? It's just not ideal. Okay? But there are plenty of guys that need to step up. You know, Hampus Lindholm missed 65 games last year. Can he slot in and be a top pairing defenseman right away? Elias Lindholm, he was battling injury, but he's the only Bruin, I think, that played all 82. Maybe Pasternak as well. So Elias Lindholm's going to need to step up. He's going to need to be more than a 47, 48-point guy. He needs to be better than that, especially if he's going to play on this first line. You've got to get NHL production out of some of your young guys. You know, I'm not expecting Matthew Poitras to score 50 points, but he and Mitten are going to need NHL production. And your goaltender is going to need to be an all-star caliber goaltender again. Not whatever the hell that was last year. He's going to have a preseason this time because he's not holding out, but he is talking in the third person, which I don't love. So I'm saying there are a ton of guys that need to step up for this Bruins team this year. But the guy who can make the biggest impact potentially is Charlie McAvoy. The one that's saying we're a playoff team every day of the week. He can be the guy who goes out there and proves it. If he can elevate his game back to the level that it was 3 or 4 years ago and be in the Norris conversation, he was never a front runner in any of those years, but he was in the conversation. He was in that upper echelon. If he can be better than a guy like Rasmus Dahlin or Josh Morrissey, Jake Sanderson, I know some people are really high on him. He's not in the top 10, but some people are really high on him. Like, that makes a massive difference towards the Bruins' playoff hopes. If he can become the player that he was well before the injury, to be quite frank. And again, now multiple shoulder injuries at this point. But the kid is still firmly in his prime here. He doesn't turn 28 until December. And he says he's fully healthy for the first time in years. And it's the first time in years he's been able to go through an offseason program where nothing's been off limits because he's been fully healthy. That explains a lot. You know, whether it was the Jim Montgomery system or just injuries that he never quite got over, the production dipped. But hearing that he's healthy now, that is something that should give hope to Bruins fans. It should. And look, I don't know if they're a playoff team every day of the week. I'm very skeptical of that. And maybe Charlie doesn't know either with the way he answered that question. But he can absolutely take him there. He can. Can't do it alone. But if you look at the Charlie McAvoy that was playing in the 22-23 and 23-24 seasons, if they get him back, then he's still a top 20 defenseman, and the Bruins will probably be on the outside looking in. If they get the Charlie McAvoy from 2021-22, he's back in the upper echelon. He's back getting Norris votes. The Bruins can make a push to the playoffs. They really can. It's going to be ugly. It's not going to be the sexiest hockey out there, trust me. But if he can throw that frame around like he does for Team USA, and he can start to produce again somewhere in the 50 to 60 point range, again, 60 is a number he's never hit, but he's hit 50 a couple of times. If he can get back there like he was a few years ago, then yeah, the Bruins can make a push to the playoffs. And they can be a playoff team most days of the week. And they can have close to everything they need on that roster. Like he said, they said, we got everything. They can be close to that if Charlie McAvoy can be the Charlie McAvoy of 3 years ago. And again, I have no reason to believe he can't ever be that again. I don't. I'm rooting for him. I'm rooting for Charlie McAvoy. He's still one of my favorite players on the team. I've been slightly disappointed with him the last couple of years, even though his teammates have been much more disappointing. I'm not trading him for Mason McTavish if he can give you that kind of season like he had a few years ago. I'll say that. And that would be a huge bright spot if he could turn this thing around. But let me know what you think in the comments section below. Is Charlie McAvoy a top 10 defenseman in the league right now? And what can he do to get back in the top 10 if you agree with NHL Network and say he's on the outside looking in? And how much does he need to do for the Bruins to get back into the playoffs in 2026? Let me know in the comments section below. Then be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel because we come at you every weekday live on YouTube, noon Eastern time, and then wherever you get your podcasts as well, talking nothing but Boston sports. Check out the other videos on the channel, talking Bruins, Red Sox, everything else going on in the world of Boston sports as your lunchtime alternative to Boston Sports Talk Radio is The Cam Show. Okay, coming up next, we're going to talk about the Patriots a little bit. Stephon Diggs, man, you spent all this money on him. And what have you gotten so far? Is it Stephon Diggs' problem? Is it Drake May's problem? Is it Josh McDaniels' problem? It's going to be all our problems next on The Cam Show.
We'll be right back after these quick words from our sponsors. This is Rogue Media Network.
Protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. Whether at home or on the go, NordVPN ensures your digital freedom. Stay secure. Download NordVPN today at nordvpn.com. That's NORDVPN.com. Elevate your experience with Grenco Science, the leaders in cutting-edge vaporizers. Whether you're at home or on the go, our sleek, powerful devices deliver smooth, consistent hits every time. Quality you can trust, innovation you can feel. Grenco Science. Take your vapor game to the next level. Visit us at GrencoScience.com.
It all began with a simple idea, cutting handles off old ski sticks to create better pull-up bars. This sparked the creation of the revolutionary Engels 90 handles. After testing over 70 prototypes with 300 athletes, our patented handles were launched in 2018. We continued to push the boundaries of strength training. Join us in making your training more natural and effective. Visit Engels90.com to learn more and revolutionize your workout.
Dive into adventure with Scuba.com, your ultimate destination for top-tier scuba and snorkeling gear. With over 20 years of experience, our expert staff, who've dived everywhere from the Galapagos to the Maldives, provides personalized advice to help you find the perfect gear for any underwater journey. Shop leading brands like GoPro, Aqualung, and Scuba Pro. Whether you're a beginner or a pro, trust Scuba.com for the best in diving equipment and expert guidance. Explore now at Scuba.com. That's SCUBA.com. Scuba.com.
And now, back to our show.
Back to it on the Cam Show, Rogue Media Sports Network. I'm your host, Cam Stewart. Zach Burke keeping us on the air 5 days a week. I just did like an awesome fake out to Zach leading into the commercial break there. But now we got to shift our gears. All right. We talked about the Bruins, Charlie McAvoy, and how much he needs to bounce back. And speaking of bounce back, you got to look at it in Foxborough again. The team always needs to bounce back. The coach usually needs to bounce back. The quarterbacks need to bounce back. And now one of your receivers needs to bounce back for this New England Patriots team. If they're going to be close to that 10-win team that so many thought they were going to be because of this easy schedule. Well, you dropped an easy one. In fact, you might have dropped two easy ones. You probably should have beat Vegas. You're probably a better team than them. You definitely should have beat Pittsburgh. But instead, you're 1-2 because that's what we're used to here, losing, especially at home. But my question is, what's going on with Stefon Diggs? 3 years, $69 million, $26 million guaranteed. And what do we get through 3 weeks? 13 catches for 112 yards. That used to be a good game for Stefon Diggs, not a good month. You've got this Lamborghini here. You've bought it. It looks all nice. It's shiny. You've touched it up, and you're just keeping it in the garage. His biggest play this year is 16 yards. That's Stefon Diggs' most explosive play a quarter of the way through the season. Excuse me. That's bad math. 20% of the way through the season, roughly. His biggest play this year is for 16 yards. That's your big play guy. That's your big play guy? Hunter Henry and Ramondre Stevenson both have not one, but 2 plays longer than Diggs' biggest play this year, and neither of those guys are wide receivers, and neither of those guys are seen as explosive. And that is kind of a microcosm of the real problem here. You spent all this money on potentially damaged goods, right? Like, I do think he should be contributing here. And I think he's got something left in him. But, like, taking it from 1,000-foot view here, it was a risk to bring in a guy who's over 30 and coming off an ACL injury. That's a risk. Anyway, I don't need to justify myself. Anyway, you spent all this money on potentially damaged goods just because your young quarterback needs a dynamic wide receiver who could stretch the defense and be a guy you can go to on third down. Diggs hasn't been either of those things. How long have we heard that for all of Drake May's career and all of Mac Jones's career before him? You know, it's just different in the NFL in the 2020s now. Look at Joe Burrow. Look at Josh Allen. If you're bringing a young quarterback along, you've got to have a big play receiver that you can go to on third down. And I get it. I agree with that. But why is that not coming to fruition here? Because I'm wondering, is it even Stefon Diggs' fault? He's converted 5 third downs, but only on 6 targets. Their third down percentage, the Patriots' third down percentage, is way up from a year ago already. It's about 10 points up, 10 percentage points up. But Stefon Diggs, the third down guy, is barely getting in on the fun. Instead, Drake May's looking for Hunter Henry and Kayshon Boutte, Pop Douglas. You think Diggs is going backwards on that one? Or you think Diggs is probably falling forward, getting the first down, by the way? Anyway, Diggs' targets, they've gone down every week since the start of the season. And I can't remember one time they've gone to him in the red zone. That's where the guy's supposed to be making his money. It's a big money player who's not being allowed to make big money plays. Is it his fault? Is he not 100% healthy? If he's not 100% healthy, why is he on the field? Is it Drake May's fault? Is it Josh McDaniels' fault? What is this? You've got a quarterback with unbelievable arm talent who can chuck it a mile and keep plays alive while doing it. And you've also paid really good money for one of the best improv receivers in the NFL. And it's just not happening. They aren't connecting. Drake May is barely looking his way. I mean, just how many times have I said it out loud? And I'm sure some of you as well in your living room through the first 3 games of like, this is a big play. Where's Stephon Diggs? Why aren't they going to Diggs here? This is the kind of play for Stephon Diggs. Game's on the line. Let's get him involved here. And still, it doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. This offseason, you remember the Patriots were trying to throw a boatload of money at Chris Godwin. And Chris Godwin basically said, no, I'm good. You guys suck. I'll stay in Tampa for way less. Got to pay the suck tax. We've heard that quite a bit around this region. So you brought in Stephon Diggs thinking, it probably overpaying for Stephon Diggs, let's be fair, thinking not only is this guy going to make us better, we're going to overpay a little bit. This guy's going to make us better, but also he's going to have a big enough year and a great connection with Drake May that the other big name receivers are going to want to come here, just like they did for Brady. Just like Stephon Diggs did in Buffalo early on with Josh Allen. He said, I want to work with this guy. The next big disgruntled wide receiver is not looking at this team and saying, man, I can be the next Hunter Henry there. That's not happening. And this offense has been close to looking really good. The time it did look really good in the 3 games this year was against Miami, who's been horrible, right? They're still winless, right? They're still 0-3. But it showed flashes of brilliance, absolutely, against the Steelers. And it showed some early on against the Raiders, and then it fell apart. And in the meantime, they're seeing a Pro Bowl receiver targeted 15 times in 3 games. I don't think that was part of the game plan when you went out and got him and spent at least $26 million to bring him in here. 15 targets in 3 games. That's a situation where I don't know if the quarterback knows what jersey number he wears. And the other problem is this, and the Patriots have not had to deal with this in a long, long time. But when it comes to good NFL receivers, they want the ball. I know, it's crazy. It's their lifeblood, man. It's the thing that gives a rush of blood right down to their nether regions. Getting the football. If Stephon Diggs doesn't start getting the ball soon, he's going to be pissed. And it's not going to be good for either him nor the New England Patriots. Because remember, and it's going to sound harsher than it is, I like Stephon Diggs. I'm glad he's here. But let's just remember his path. Minnesota traded him. Josh Allen wasn't sad to see him go. The Houston Texans were not sad to see him go. The man knows how to burn a bridge. He does. He knows how to get out of town when he's not happy. And he's not going to be happy if he doesn't start getting more targets soon. And that leads to bad things for the teams he's on. And we have not seen that classic accountability and discipline that Mike Vrabel was preaching all offseason long. Haven't seen that so far. The other thing we're all looking for is we're all trying to see Drake May take that next step in this decision to sign Stephon Diggs seemed like the most natural route. Because again, everyone was saying for years, you need that big play receiver. There's no quarterback in this league that doesn't succeed without a big play receiver. The only one would be Patrick Mahomes, the best quarterback in the league, but you get my point. You look at all the other elite guys. They've all got elite receivers around them. Lamar Jackson does. Josh Allen does. CJ Stroud did. Jared Goff does. It's not, they all have one. Jaden Daniels does. Joe Burrow has two when he ever plays. This was supposed to be the one for Drake May. This seemed like the natural route, but where is it? He was practicing. Diggs was practicing. Limited, but he was practicing. Look, I know it's only 3 games into a 17-game season. But with receivers, you're dealing with a different timeline and a totally different attitude than most other positions. Like, it's a game by game. If they're not getting the ball, they're pissed. Ask Tyreek Hill down in Miami. These guys need the ball, and they need it all the time. They can't take a week off. They're prickly people. And that's fine. You knew that coming in. But so far, the Stephon Diggs era, it's been pink cocaine, knocking up a couple women, and not being part of the game plan. That's it. He's knocked up 2 more women this year than he has touchdowns. That's it. You need something from him soon. And I'm sure he'd agree with that. He needs something soon. I still think he's a weapon. But I'm wondering why he's not more a part of the game plan. Taking the top off on first down. Have they done that one time this year? One time? I don't think so. Getting a hot route to him on a third down. Once or twice. 5 catches on third down this whole year through 3 games. That's supposed to be your go-to guy. I'm missing it. I'm not seeing it. And I don't know whose fault it is, but it's going to be the problem of the entire New England Patriots if he doesn't get the ball here very soon. But anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. What's been up with the Stephon Diggs experience so far? Is it going to get better? Who is to blame for this? Because I don't even know if it's Stephon Diggs' fault, man. He's cutting it out. He's out there on the field. He's getting open. Got to find him. Got to play more to his strengths. If you're going to pay him this kind of money and be the guy for Drake May, it's got to play to his strengths a little bit more. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. And then be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. We're coming at you every weekday live at noon Eastern time on YouTube and then available wherever you get your podcasts as well. We're talking Boston sports, man. We're your lunchtime alternative to Boston Sports Talk Radio. I'm your host, Cam Stewart. That's why it's called The Cam Show. Zach Burke is keeping us on the air. Check out the other videos on the channel. Talking Bruins, Red Sox, everything else going on in the world of Boston sports. Coming up next, we will hit the Red Sox because they're back, and these next 6 games are going to define the season quite literally. But if the playoffs started today, would the Red Sox have the easiest road to the ALCS and a reunion with Roman Anthony? We'll talk about that next on The Cam Show.
We'll be right back after these quick words from our sponsors. This is Rogue Media Network.
Tervis is all about staying hydrated with style and durability. You can trust Tervis tumblers to keep your drinks the perfect temperature, hot or cold, for hours. From the classic insulated tumblers to sleek stainless steel water bottles, each product is built to last and comes in endless designs to match your personality. Stay refreshed and express yourself with Tervis. Visit tervis.com today and find your perfect tumbler.
Since our founding, we've been revolutionizing hair removal with cutting-edge technology and a commitment to empowerment. The U-Like Air 3, launched in 2023, ushers in a new era of sapphire ice cooling technology, offering nearly painless hair reduction in just 3 weeks. Experience the future of hair removal today at ulike.com, because at U-Like, beauty is about looking and feeling good. That's ulike.com. U-Like. With Ease US, make studio quality voiceovers for your videos online in over 149 languages and dialects, featuring 468 natural AI voices. Customize the volume, mood, and pauses to perfectly match your content. Plus, capture high quality videos with no watermark. Record your screen, webcam, and voice, and save them instantly to your computer. Never been easier to create professional grade videos and voiceovers. Try it today at easeus.com. That's EASEUS.com. Ease US.
Just use AmPace.
AmPace.
And now, back to our show.
Let's get back to it. The Cam Show on Rogue Media Sports Network. I'm your host, Cam Stewart. Zach Burke is keeping us on the air as he does 5 days a week, just plugging away from behind the glass, making sure we bring a show to you every day. Talking nothing but Boston sports. We have talked Charlie McAvoy. We have talked Stephon Diggs. And now next, we take a look at the rest of the baseball season. 6 games left. It's time to put up or shut up. If you're the Boston Red Sox here. Okay. It is coming down to this. They are in the second wild card right now, which is where I didn't think they would be after this weekend, and may not be there at the end of this week, but it is still all to play for in the American League wild card race. Red Sox in that second one, they're 3 games back of the Yankees, but only 1 game up on the Cleveland Guardians, who finally lost again, but are 9-1 in their last 10. So they're a game up on both the Guardians and the Houston Astros. So 2 teams vying for 1 spot there. Man, it is all coming down to this. Of course, the Red Sox in Toronto, and then a 3-game series with the Detroit Tigers, the 2 best teams in the American League to finish off this year. Just what more could you ask for, fellas? This is it. We wanted meaningful games in September. Here it is, September 23rd. There's still meaningful games. Here's what the playoff bracket would look like if the season ended today. Ooh, I should take myself out of that a little bit. Here is what it would look like, because the Red Sox are sitting there in the number 2 wild card position. And golly, I can't get this to go. There we go. But now I'm not in it. Gosh, you can't see it. What is going on? There we go. Okay, the postseason picture. If the season ended today, the Red Sox going to Yankee Stadium to play that 3-game wild card series, an all-divisional matchup in the East, an all-divisional matchup in the Central. But then look at where this gets interesting. Whomever wins that Red Sox-Yankee series gets another AL East opponent with the number 1 seed Toronto Blue Jays. We haven't played the Blue Jays in a long time, okay? I'm not trying to sit here and say that the Blue Jays don't deserve to be a number 1 seed or anything like that. They've clearly earned their way there, okay? But what I am saying is I don't worry as much about Toronto as I do Detroit, Seattle, or even Cleveland at this point. Cleveland's the hottest team in baseball, man. I don't want to face them. Like if you said, Cam, 2 teams for the Red Sox to play to get to the ALCS in this playoff picture with your life on the line, who would those 2 teams in the American League be? I'd pick the Yankees and the Blue Jays. Like I would. Does that mean the Red Sox are automatically going to beat them? No, but they've done really well against the Yankees this year. They've won the season series against the Yankees, and they haven't done that against Toronto yet. But I just think Toronto is ripe to be beaten. I really do. I think they've gotten lucky in a baseball sense, over 162 game season, which sounds like an oxymoron. I just don't think they are the team that's best built for the postseason. By the way, the Red Sox aren't either, okay? It's still probably either Seattle or Detroit that's the best built for the postseason, in my opinion. But it's crazy what's happened with Seattle and Cleveland in this playoff bracket. But yeah, I said it a few weeks ago, even before the Yankees took 2 out of 3 at Fenway, like I'm not like overly concerned about the Red Sox going into Yankee Stadium in a playoff series. I'm not. They played well there this year. They've played well there over the last few years. They've played well in the last couple of times they've played in the postseason there. They haven't lost a postseason game at Yankee Stadium in 21 years, for whatever that's worth to you. I just don't think this team is really afraid to go into Yankee Stadium. In fact, I think this team is at its most confident against the New York Yankees. I really do. Like, they're not afraid of that team. And you didn't see it until the World Series last year with this Yankee team, but if you force them to play baseball, you've got good chances, man. Like, if you just force them to play the game, I'm talking about keeping the line moving, playing defense, infield defense, running the bases, bullpen. They suck at those things, man. They suck at all of them. And their bullpen, which has been better in September, has still been suspect this whole year. That's how you win games in the playoffs. The Red Sox have a very top-heavy bullpen in Whitlock and Chapman. And if you can get good relief appearances from a guy like Peyton Tolley, then suddenly the Red Sox might have the best bullpen in the American League. They're right there anyway with Whitlock and Chapman. Those two guys shut it down at the end of games. So I'm confident they can beat the Yankees. And I think that series with Toronto would be a hell of a series. But man, Boston-Toronto playoffs? God, it makes me feel like hockey season again, doesn't it? And that ALCS, which is an accomplishment in and of itself to get to the American League Championship Series, we all know what that means in terms of the Red Sox lineup. That's what Alex Cora said. ALCS is when we would see Roman Anthony again. It's going to be a lot of pressure on a kid that's 21 years old to just be back at the top of the lineup again in a playoff series right before the World Series. But that could be a huge, huge lift for this Red Sox team. Once you get into the ALCS, again, that's an accomplishment for this team, for where they are now and for where they were at the beginning of this season. But once you get there, anything could happen, man. Nothing's off limits at that point. But if this holds, and if this holds through the end of this week, that is the best playoff bracket scenario I think the Red Sox could have hoped for, in my opinion. But I might be wrong. Let me know in the comment section if you think differently about this. But I think a road to the ALCS that goes through 2 divisional opponents in the Yankees and the Blue Jays, I'm not saying is automatic. I'm not saying is more probable than not, but it is the most favorable, I think, for the Red Sox. Not facing Cleveland, big time. Not facing Detroit, still don't like to do that, or still like to not face Detroit, I guess I should say. If I had to pick 2 teams out of these 5, it would be the Yankees and the Blue Jays. And wouldn't that just make for some awesome entertainment, man? 2 divisional opponents, one of them being the Yankees. Like, bring that on, man. That's great for the sport. Could you imagine a Game 3, winner-take-all, Yankee Stadium, Red Sox-Yankees? Lucas Giolito versus Will Warren? Or Louis Heel, who almost no-hit the Red Sox, so maybe that's not the best thing. But you've already gone through Crochet, Fried, Bayo, and Rodon. That would be awesome. That would be just awesome stuff. And Alex Cora, a week ago was saying, hey, we can't talk about October right now. We don't know if that's a guarantee. Is now bumping Garrett Crochet a day so that he could potentially start game 1 of a playoff series on 5 days rest. Sure. Yeah, we're not thinking about October baseball. Red Sox got to get the job done here, though. They've got to get the job done here. Cleveland is not going to stop winning. They're not going to stop through these last 6 games here. It's going to be fascinating. And we will have it every single weekday for you right here on YouTube, live at high noon Eastern time, and then available wherever you get your podcasts as well. We are your lunchtime alternative to Boston Sports Talk Radio, talking nothing but Boston sports 5 days a week. I'm your host, Cam Stewart. Zach Burke, shout out to him for keeping us on the air. Thank you. Shout out to you for joining along once again. And we will see you tomorrow on another edition of a little ditty that we like to call The Cam Show.
Transform your workspace with Hanomi Ergonomics. From adjustable chairs to standing desks, we provide solutions for comfort and productivity, whether at home or in the office. Improve your posture, reduce strain, and work smarter. Visit us at hanomi.co today. That's HINOMI.co today. Experience the future of secure private cloud storage with Internex. Protect your files with end-to-end encryption, ensuring your data stays private and accessible only to you. Enjoy seamless, fast storage without compromising security. Visit Internex.com today and take control of your digital life. That's INTERNXT.com today. Protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. Whether at home or on the go, NordVPN ensures your digital freedom. Stay secure. Download NordVPN today at nordvpn.com. That's NORDVPN.com. Sains, we understand that maintaining a healthy lifestyle can be challenging, especially in today's fast-paced world. That's why our mission is to make fitness accessible to everyone, anywhere. Committed to excellence, we adopt a user-centric approach guided by ergonomics and medical science. With a team of seasoned professionals in R&D, design, and manufacturing, we prioritize quality across our entire product line. Visit twosains.com today and start your journey to better health. That's TOUSAINS.com.